Okay. We will proceed now. Ila si Amarira, o tato tuatau, harara mai, tatu tamai kone ko Peia, no runga I tāna tuanga. O tāna tuanga ina, te. O tā Peia harara mai, Tukoi ki tā tātou anau tia nei au, I rako e rātou tia tuanga neira. I wao ke I te whaino ko Micronesia, o ko tai rai te tūranga I rako mai ai. Te rako paa ko I Grandmaster, o ko tai rai wao ke I Micronesia. So ngā ko parau rai tia no tātou. So in the world of ocean voyaging, the grandmasters of voyaging are actually based, the traditional voyages are based in Micronesia. The last time I counted, there may have been 5 altogether. Five altogether in Micronesia. So outside of that realm, all the master navigators are based and come from various islands in Micronesia. So outside of that elite group, we are so fortunate to have Peia over here of that status to share with us, and of course acknowledging all the others, the poor navigators that who are not able to join us today. But before we go, I just got to acknowledge and thank you those who has come from Christchurch. Sarah, thank you very much for taking your time. Sarah from Christchurch, thank you very much. I also give thanks and acknowledge T. T is from Mitiar. And she today comes from Turanganuia Kiwa. It's guest been, so she has taken the time. And also I'd like to acknowledge from Hamilton, Robbie, a good mate of mine. But Robbie is here, and also from Wellington. No doubt they'll be coming soon. So thank you very much for taking the time, for your interest to come and be with us today. I know you have a lot of questions. Please don't ask me. I have no answers. So ask Peia Kone, you should be able to. So with that, we are ready to go. Now I introduce you, Peia, and iti atema Rida Tuhan. Okay.
Tayo nawa te komite atu te tauturu te topic trust o mai no te I kapo na tato pera kato te tunga I tato na konte ngā tomaki a koe prema I tawi atu te torato opu training opportunity o ngā tomaki nora tonga mai anora o hone o muri nā roto I te tauturu o kata hotu I tōku mai tuku era mai te ngai kone. Te ina mana ko ngati kai ka kami kia tuku Wellington I te reanga I arawe te tō tātou o ngoi. Te koe mai tāna tōki kare rau te rāra me wunti kone. Wa tuku te whanautonga tarata o mai wa tāku. Te tira o. Tāku mea presentation ka tuku areo e era mai kone I te api a tātou te nere. Kita tuan aku tak ite tumu mana koe o mai ko. Apa ra dai tata. Are chagi pa ko. Me mana ko to. Cuba ke mai rajem ora beta. Ya. Te me uci ini. Wa ko musuh. Mulai me mana ko to ka pe ati ya me ka pe ya ya re. Ka ite yu me ne dire di mo ko. Ya cuba no iya. Di pay di ginaw to di ero pay dito ro mana nga ikut ko imeda di tawo di archive tawo dito to neno I aki na tata ko tawo di ati ko tato ke rope mati api. Tato to mari te trio. Ya. Ia tato tu kita ni taku the presentation ni orang kita eu pakau ko tu kira ke lumai te kaira ngara amara ina onia. Ali gulon di. Ore navigating the Pacific skies. Utoku turanga de ora katanga yang begitu satu. Aku terkira na mo tatanto ko ni di te mai di lunch tani su access ko na ko me to ka ko mo ki no ko di mai si demu mai ko ojo ni oi ma ojo i training mo ma ojo i te pai anga na to ka kau tong ya tu ni di nanti yani di 1995 and the kita i buku apa fisik itu betul te merai mau i kali dia papa mau kita te papa mau itu ma Indonesia kan oi ti orang mai dia kita kita tu mungkin kita tu ngau ia tak tu dia kita mau ada notia notia media kita tak tu tu ada nama ni ada nama ni kita kaitin dodi lai ngau mate wang cuy makale kare eu kere angai muri mai cukup ngaru wang cuy dia ada tahu okey boleh dia kita tak itang tak wang okey rai koi gitu rai ko fan mini makale tak tahu mai cukup dia mau ite buku ite tu tahu dia cuma orang mai dia kita dia arah ni muri kita tua tak berai kerana tuan ni nak boleh tak api di tem di api ni dia buka pada tahu ini orang ni dia tu dia tak tahu pun kira kita di orang yang macam apa dia ilmu itu tahu aku ni udah tem ni nak ada mesti tem pada udah tem ni ada mantan ya orang kita ada beribu nana aku ikut ilmu ini tahu ya rara mereka tahu itu no udah apa ini tidak ada orang yang ada yang mai tahu. Ada video yang tu puye, video yang mai tahu. Buat yang mau tidak, di sini buat mau buat okey kalau mereka okey dengan ini. Okey, orang okey. Okey, nah, okey, navigating with the Pacific skies, okey, cuma mana okey. Presentation dia nak aku kali aku mau yang okey ya. Aku mau yang okey. Okey. Aku kita ber, karena atau kita ya satu kita berani ngacut, itu malah kok cuma.
Polynesia, 1000 AD, 492 years before Columbus. Elsewhere in the world, China is inventing gunpowder. And a very important journey by Norseman Varus is taking place in the North Atlantic. In Polynesia, explorers are in the midst of settling the Marquesas and Hawaiian Islands. But did they also sail by the stars to North and South America?
Ancient Polynesians as voyagers, well, they're the best. We know that they reached every distant island in the Pacific, and they did it in a short amount of time.
Spread out over more than 7 million square miles of ocean, Polynesia covers more area than any nation in the world. There are 1,000 islands, and by 1380 AD, Polynesian voyagers managed to travel to and colonize all of them.
Polynesia, biggest nation on Earth, bigger than Russia, 600 times more water than there's land. I would argue that the Polynesians were the only culture that were purposely voyaging, exploring, and navigating the largest ocean on Earth at a time when other cultures weren't.
If you look at world maritime history and you ask who the most successful navigators are, the most successful types of ships, very few people would give you the correct answer, which is the Polynesian seagoing canoe and Polynesian navigators.
Polynesian voyaging canoes, or tepukes, were up to 60 feet long. Their double hulls were made from logs of the koa tree, hollowed out by a traditional tool called an adze, or made from smaller wooden planks sewn together. Their crab-claw sails were woven together out of lauhala leaves, and some 1,500 feet of hand-wound coconut fibers were used for lashings.
Tara tama-tama tato e karon e araram ba na ko api idra o na ino tangsen tama-tama ko idra may mama ko may kay o may titik ako to iro kay ako may titik ya at tawad sini ito mau mo ko ko kaya to dia tok mana ko ko dia tu ko ngate ita koro ra ma iti kita tato e mo onde ko ngaro eta tu I terangate mo tato mana ko ya pa mata mai tato I ari ni mata iti ita ko sini mo mata iti uri ama mana ko mo iti 1992 Arts Festival ya kamu tamai oki de mana ko muri e ko de tumu mana ko no wa nui ko I oki ite aku tua tu orang hor na ite ya kite tarai boka para foto ite kite o tu kabai mau are rau kia tato o ite mamo ya tu kita namai ko wai ite ya pomne mo te mea ko te na rato ko api na papa mau ya rato te wai ni ite kite o tu kona ya tu dia mato te ya o tamari o mo mai dia pa eno toma ite ari ta tapi ite te kite poto ko ia ite te dia tu baka tai uopo ia roko ia mato te apai mai te tō mato waka o te teri ino waka ki rato o te kite mua rai tara I oroma ia mai mato I tate no muri nei ta kura ato no muri mai I te aku ia ka te oto I te o te wao tua I te api I te tere mamo tuki there's a lot of discipline in it for you to be able to navigate in a long distance. As a navigator, you have to be awake at all times. You have to discipline your body, your mind, and your soul. Ao mana te ko te tatato tuju yang mana mapunia. Ya te o rauna ai tatato how a navigator is actually recognized in those days. That's a separate subject. In 1976, Hokole did a long voyage, and that's the revival of canoe, or the revival of navigations in Polynesia. We weren't able to do it without the help of Polynesia, which today they totally depend on that knowledge. They have to sail traditionally from one island to another. To fish and feed the whole island. So that's how they managed to preserve that knowledge. O kulea tana, na tako toi ki tene e papa mau I te sone, o te tangata te I aku tōna karaki I kore I tōna kite. Mo aati e te o ture pōro I Makunisha. Me tā tātou rai I kite I tō tātou te kite tapu, kite karaki, no e tō o putanga. Kite ra ai I te tōna tuku mai anga, kāre te tamariki I tōna o te ape o kite. It has been overcome by modernization. So that was the issue, that was the issue for him. So he looks further. With the request of Naino, who's on the other side, he agrees to teach. And there was an elite team, and I was lucky to be part of that, to receive that knowledge. Then it becomes a responsibility for me today, and that's why the Marama is so is working hard towards preserving the knowledge that we all have, so that we can pass it on. It's no longer a kite karaki. We gotta teach and teach and teach. That's the main subject behind it. It does not matter who you are, we teach. So we cannot teach if we don't have all the information, all the knowledges. The biggest idea of the Puna Marama is to teach in the Peia Marama tato kamariki. Ia pape et kaya nato kia na. O pwede kiti ni tato di tsopa wi kiti ia. Tato kamariki me ana. Ari mo niyo. Era to. Ya rara mo rara ba ya rara mo. Ari te taro ke ro tato ba ni tato te mo. O di putra re di me ni tato api muri ni. Kini tato api kita tato teman. Ai di terai ti. Utara di papa mau tan tamen di api era in Osaka. It's a very special place. But I just visited 3 years ago when I sailed a couple of canoes with Paul to Micronesia on a delivery and visit his grave in Sapporo. Very special. Kung may ako nga idea i-buo idea na yung bagitato mo na dito sa Paul. Inu nga itana to akatili ang tugu kabay. Wine wakano iya di bitago to bitera to umago iya tona. Kung iya tata Micronesia te. Timuri mai. Uri ang naino. Naino uri te mene wakato nga iya te section para nga iya houses. No temia we don't have any equipment. We don't use any equipment when we navigate. The equipment is our hand, our eyes, and our head. Now everything is all locked in there. And then our measurements is by handspans. Okay, our handspans. So every section of this is 11.25 degrees. In Togo Umaru, there's 32 houses. Times 11.25, 360. So how much? What's the degrees around? It's 360 around the compass, right? So that's how it works, and we space it by hand space. You had to calibrate your hand into 11.25, which means kung kita tayo, jangan ito measure. It becomes very important for them. They get amount of the ground, they get amount of the into. They may not measure. So bakit tato de you know macuma babai to bibi de mo na ano ka tika kuna kin mo gidi de kata dia apa gitu aja nah mungkin mungkin dia gitu harus ko apa mungkin me nui muri ya apa itu tangan me tu atau di mo mo ko di mo ya kita ko atau di mo baru dia ini terang ada di nomor dia ini ko kita ko ni baru dia apa dia kalau angai itu apa kalau angai kita apa dia taman ko angai siapa itu kai ko ini mo demi apa ya kare ro ko ko abi dia mama I can teach you in 6 months you will become navigators. But the hardest thing is actually applying it. It's the application of the knowledge. That's the hardest thing. So it takes years. Yeah, it's through experience as you go on. Dia apa nama? Kalau tu macam apa kau kata? Kalau itu ada apa? You know, kita tahu apa nama dia itu kita tahu. Karena kita mitigate jangan kau yang kau. Ya, demi apa nama? It comes through experience. Dulu nak ada orang minta tenang.
Abe po tabu mo ni hari itu, hari raw katao kami na.
Karena tu balai tabu presiden yang punya kita ko pinga o te yang me kalau itu mau terang itu ko pun itu mau terang itu ya. Untuk me itu yang sini ni ko kalau ko yang ko itu you can estimate correctly. What's the weather you're gonna get through the night just by sighting the sunsets and with the clouds and the colors that you will be given by that day. Then you know exactly through the night. Oh, you gotta be prepared because there'll be raining tonight. Sometimes it rains for a week. It rains for a week. So
they forecast to be there kalau ni tato na kali ni tato yung may de nato pa dia. Apa yang tato de tato de tato pa. Ada taruh kita kalau kita ada tato ini itu weather map jadi dah apa tu. Kalau tato kita kalau ni tato itu kerap. Ciao. Nah, tadi rang apa orang itu fokus itu. Ini tato. Kalau kita tato itu cukai terang. ia te roa o te lewa ka era mai, te tiawa ka era mai a ponia. Me rewa te ta e mai e. O te au mea tana ka roka e tato i ta koko e ta. Me u mai, o papatano.
Apa te ala o te tai, te au tai. Anātura e tera mea o te tōru te anga waka.
Te pingu popinga tāno, te au tai. Te marama tātou, te tereanga i raro i te southern hemisphere, northern hemisphere. Most currents moves westward. 45 of a knot, half a knot. So that's another thing that you have to apply in your head. Me tere tātou. Pāteke wale tātou i raro. The matangi mostly comes in, the prevailing winds, it differs from a southeast in the southern hemisphere, southeast easterly to easterly to northerly in the northern hemisphere. So ke marama tau e akatere anga i tiri rau kako. Ki te taua e me teia rā tātou papa e mai nei e akapea me kukui. What about if it's totally cloud cover? There is no sights of any. That's when the importance of swells comes in. Swells doesn't change for at least 3 days. How did the swells form? It's formed by storm far away from you. So you can actually determine, the moment it is swell. But through experience, you have to separate the swells from a wave. Yeah. The wind and the wave will change immediately. The swells doesn't. So that's why sunset and the sunrise becomes very, very important. And you have to sight the swell. Feel it, close your eyes, feel it, how the canoe moves according to your course. Now, akapea te waka I te uri anga. Akapea koe te fuel anga I te maka. And while it's sailing, o te mea ka pipiri to omata that you gotta feel it. Yeah. Te tai teima ka ki te o, te nui ako te teima. Me pō, e ko tarau ke te atika mua, me te takotoa rau kura. No te mea ka hare o ki te tamariki I ki te, tako anga trai te ia. Mua ka tera ka tomo e kiro. Me tomo tera ki raro, au ki te koe a te, you know what's taking nation, the sun goes down. Yeah? What goes down according to your course. Te e taka taka. Kana equinox, me ta pōri mentioned in Nomone, which is 21st of March and 21st of September. It's in my tera. The sun will rise due east on that day. Aru o mata I o March, e aru o mata I o Tipta. Now, then you down there don't get the straight north. That's all it is, straight north. And it's in my tera, the Popo. It's in my tera, the Popo. And the sun is on your beam, which means you're going north. Right? It's in my tera, ti mua ki ya koe. What's that mean? You're going off course. You're going down west, right? The Marama that. It just gives you that little bit of complication in how the navigation works. My techniques today that if I teach students that we have to use the materials that's available to us today. There are apps on our phones. I don't restrict that because it's a learning tool. We are in the modern time that we all these applications that needs to help you. In my time, just Bible. You read it. There's no app. I was surprised at one time when we said one of the young crew came up with this app. I was just figuring it out through the clouds. Who's the name of this star? I couldn't figure it out because it's totally covered. He came up with a this is what it is. I said, come here, let me have a look at that stuff. So I thought there's no reason to not allow this stuff. You have to use all the available means to help you learn. But the actual application of the knowledge has to be done. I've been all around on canoes, and the question is that your canoe doesn't look traditional enough. Yeah. Today we would canoe with fiberglass, with Decron sails, but we don't.
Yeah, that's for maintenance, so the waka lasts longer.
Exactly.
Hey.
Well,
That's
So back in
exactly
the
what it is.
day, you didn't have a phone, well, you're gonna charge it. You're in the moana. Let's be reality, you know? You're in the moana. You look at the stars to guide you where you're going to go. That's all I. No.
Yeah, but when we sail, we don't use those stuffs. We
Yeah.
don't use the things. But we
Just
really
checking.
Yeah.
Just checking where this went because I know that if you have certain things on the waka, which is the rope, how to do your knots, how to tie it,
Yeah.
so you don't sink.
It's just like building a canoe, right?
Yeah.
We build now in Park Class. In those days, our tupunas built it up driftwood and trees. We don't have that much anymore.
They work
Nothing
at
much
that
around.
time, mate. But
We
it didn't
go
work
over
at
the
that
time.
time.
Yeah, we go over the time.
Yeah.
So if I build a wooden canoe today, I think my ancestors will probably be jumping out of their grave
Probably.
and swearing at me years to
You got to put the
Yeah.
time.
And Park Class canoes is not changing the way that we navigate. It won't change the way, it's just lengthen the time of usage and less money spent on maintenance. Okay, let's move on. Today, the compass e pera mo to. O te tai tumu mana ko te puna Marama ko yogi te uri anga ngare te kimi anga tikai e ata tato ta te Cook Island.
Oh, fell asleep.
That's why we always have to learn. Don't depend on this, otherwise our phone will reflect.
No,
This one's fine.
It's like a GPS, if it shuts off when you're sailing, you'll bug it.
On Power TV.
It's on.
It's off there.
I just do manually.
Anak yang mana ramai beri tu lah. Mereka tu yang bilang ke, kota tu kita beri nak ni, kau yang kau te, kota tu kampus. Ya, tang Marama. Kira kata tu, kita makan ni kampus si kali mana mana ni. Kira kata tu, cukup orang kau benga kampus. Without going to ito mga era sections, we call them houses. Yeah, yung ano ito 11.25 degree. Kita. So may white area, may white opinion. So may di ito may panamay. Apa namanya yung 30 degree at each. Karena ya declination. Yeah, there's a declination to each stance. And that works very well with the net. Kenapa? Tahu kalau ni dia itu tahu yang aku kita. Dia itu mai dia ngai dia tidak ngazo ni. They rise at a certain point on the horizons, and they sit exactly on the opposite side. Okay, they don't cross the meridian. They don't cross it. Waktu tu dia mangang orang panamai luar, 22 degrees up on the horizon, they become useless to you as an navigator. It depends where you are. It depends where you are on the ocean itself. If you are at the equator, you use the stars from rising to setting, because everything rises straight. May tirar ko matato. May malu degree tirar ko. Is the way they eat. Can rise. May namin takana, it rises degrees. But once it comes up, it starts to lean away from you. It leans away from you 22 degrees. So you need to know what is your latitude. Latitude. Yeah. So we need to know what is your latitude so that you know what angle the heavenly body leans away from you. And the same as the sun. The sun moves every day. Yeah. It goes in from equinox, from east. It goes into Marama. It goes down to summer solstice. It becomes a north solstice, not the northern hemisphere. A winter solstice, not the northern hemisphere. And then it goes opposite the other way around. Ite me te ukini ya. Now tanga tuna mat. Raro mate tite man ora ro it becomes hot. Now summer, the sun comes closer to us. You see the ukine wakamata e neke. Brand the marama ne ga mai e te o degree inunga ke ya ichiga. Yang betare e ginu. Ere e raro mata e o chiu te e ginu no don mai momo ka e. E o mate do mai. Kata to winter. They gone away from us. Yeah. Aku mau give money ya derang dia and money. Okay, now. Oke, dia Marama.
Marama. Turu.
Nebe kita pun mau tahu yang betul. Oke, ya tahu putar matang. Ya, dia tahu putar matang ini. Tahu tangan ni itu payu. Payu kamu tu ko pangan itu bisa jadi. Aku ni tahu memang orang tu cukup gimana ini. Tangan cukup kebing mau di. Mo itatato me a tete anu to tama ko te voy to tete pa te voy to tete tena de no Tokirau is northwest. Tokirau is northwest. Pa ino Tokirau jalan pa ino Tokirau ali no. More case northeast. Dia mai tsura na pa ata dia betray na ko ni tat mga ya. Mga tsukira. Ari agi ko mening ari kita na mo ya ben. Ani ke? Tapi dia pa ko pare ang mga. Kino iya. Ano nila semua? Kaya ako nanti yang matang kita nung kita ko na.
Individually? Yeah, it's good. Showing the different northeasterly, north. Just keep
Yeah. Ito tong lugar. Ito ko rin. Ano pa? Jadi dia tahu dia mau ke northeast. Ya. There we go. Nah, di mana mau merata tu? So, kita tahu dia wire may utang yan na kita cukup pemain. Paano kita natin? Kita umeti tato ermay dira. Na diri niya compass. A copycat the compass. Utame oray it's available to us. Kita nai no. Bota mo to ko abi ako tu. Uri wo mau itereo ku ai. Itereo ku ai. Inoro ni na okyo di kita. Ya atika tata ko di tata ko ai di kana na. Ya para to ni pama to di amne. Di kana na ide mato yo daro ki tato yo. Na. Kumago. Kita yang kita nak tulis apa ni? Mesti mai kita nak de HUB kone. Ya, itu mai kita ngarang. Bakar juga ngarang. On the western side. Ada across. Kita mesti ada orang tu ke Marama me apa tu kita ambil. Ada across. Yeah, it doesn't cross the meridian. Or doesn't cross the equator. Yeah. It goes from one side exactly where it rises, and it sits exactly where on the opposite side. Okay. O te iau Marama, mi te rai tākana tō te e tui iti mene koni nanga ko mintaka te rata e te tuanga o Orion, Orion's belt. Iti mai e due east. Me te e koe ta tātou, akatika e, ka use koe tra e tui right through the night, e te ka tomo e okuma te. Me te rora tomo koe, it leans away 22 degrees from you. Yeah, me te wei i koe, it leans away 22 degrees south of you. Because with things starts to become complicated. It's opposites. Okay? The Mataiti 2010, well, 2 years ago, that took to work all. Okay, what up? E te aoka e tātou e akatene ni I te whātou I pune. They been based on the design of te oroto. Ka papapamu I atu. Are pāpau I tini hia, in the public class hall. More improvement in the steering process. E ko te atu, I te kowe I te tumu manako, o ko tātou moana, pata te tako I te Uma te tai ko te kuchi I te rate te rea. E te wai nere te pai na tātou tamani te e kuri ni tātou. O te e nira te... I roto I te tere rea ka... I te tū o te navigation, me kora tātou I te maru. Aka anga ia koe te akataka ke anga I te maru I te spa. Te pinga popunga I roto I te o te spa. E te me e kore kora e te me e tū. Iki koe I te ai, kamari te pōpungi o ti era te tumu with dominance wa I te roko maa. Which means na ai e dominate, which is a big one. That's the one you gotta ride on. Te mai o mana tato, e te me aimane sua naka ne, e rai o. I te mata kite, e rai tana ka kite. I te mata marama kore, e tai rai ana ka kite, makare karu tana ka kite. But you as a navigator needs to select dominance that you gotta ride and you gotta feel. Because if in occasions like our Papa is saying, what about if it's cloud cover? You can't see anything, there's no direction. That's what you gotta fall into. Immediately, the wind and the waves will give you that immediate direction, but it will change. The wind moves a lot, so it's not really dependent. It's the swell that you gotta depend on, and you gotta read it. Yeah. Pera no to te o te ako kai kanga tona ina kone. I roto I te ia noonga, te wai ni rei mo I te tātou waka. Te ngā noonga, te kai navigator seats. E runga I tātou I te waka mono matua, e o I muri. Ngā I te ia navigator, you always navigate from the corner of the canoe. I muri. It becomes, what do you call, sacred once the canoe starts sailing. The only people that sits on there is the navigators. Because ya tātou kino o no te pā te nōngira. They navigate over and they te tuki tāna kawega. Uri mai tangata e noa, you can't. E te mga roki a te kanga e akate. Uri o te pāpi e te api tātou te ranga noa, it becomes sacred when you start sailing, and it's only dedicated to the navigators. So that they can perform their responsibilities. Alida mga mama is not something that you just go get the GPS boom, because you have to be awake at all times, monitoring things. You got to keep an eye on the sails, keep an eye on the crew. Most importantly, keep an eye on the weather. So, I te teme me navigate, te teme a kuruken tātou te hao. Tāma moirira I te rātau e transit. Paua I te maunga, makare I te ati iti. Mua ka kore e koti. Kanga I ngā mea backsighting. You have to leave on a straight course to give you a better direction for later when you lose the island. So you backside an island, hold that course, and then when the sun goes down, then you will mata o I use the tāma I tāu mai ko te tāu tuko on kaweng. Meti lagi tak betul nak meti ada betul ki aku mai dia ki mai dia mea ina malu you mai dia boleh ya tra itu takiko dan ni tak boleh tak apa ni nanti nanti opi mai itu current dia opi mai yang opi ni me aku dia tak cuba orang kau main ngecik ada nak aku tu lagi aku kira lu. So if you're going to Kentucky and the wind comes from the east, you know the current goes westly. Yeah, you know the current goes westly half a knot. All of that calculations you have to put it into your calculations of what force you got. So which means you're not heading for an island, you're heading for nowhere. Eventually you get drifted on. Yeah, eventually you get drifted on. And if you don't, then you end up in penguin sometimes. But with your calculation, it should be, you know very well that what time you're going to raise the island, what time you're going to pull that island, you got to get people to look for it. And the joy in navigating is when you raise an island without using any equipment or any equipment of our equipment. And that sticks in you, it becomes a hunger, which is a book hunger for young people. Yeah? Me kalau tak tahu rumah itu awak ni, ya, elmena miti ni ni, ani idea. Kalau dia itu pulang ber, kalau dia idea orang dia tak. Yang pilih kita orang itu, kita muang itu muang ke api yang itu kita mau. Ya, hari Papua ni apa? Ni hari kita ni, cuma nanti itu kita akan buat. Kalau the army kita they do rices and they do sex. But there's something across there. Tak tahu ada tadi tu orang itu dia tak tahu tak nama itu tu tongan ni. Mungkin mereka boleh ada mereka ikan ini. The only one that's pretty close to the southern to the south hemisphere. Yeah, celestial hemisphere. Nana orang mai ide me papu yang aku kita ni yang aku itu kalau dia aku di kalau dia di sana ya aku dia itu udah no orang mai dia 4 points already in that dia 4 points already in that udah tak iyo me edit udah tengah itu dia prowess udah itu dia no on in the northern hemisphere. Once you see the North Star, your job as a navigator becomes very, very easy because you got your pointer. That star doesn't move, it sits right on the north celestial pole, the northern star. The Southern Cross doesn't. It is just an indication that there is south, but it doesn't sit on the south celestial pole. There are calculations that you have to calculate to actually determine where the south celestial pole is. That paralysis is the northern star. Yeah. The one down here, or the pan idea down here. Yeah. Kita nak buat dia. We see this in Marama in certain times of the year. It's in my you know. Kita go there. There's 2 stars in here, 2P and Merit. They always point to paralysis. So we have a fair idea where you are. You have a fair idea where north celestial pole is. Yeah, Marama. Hotel itu dia tangan. Jadi kita tahu, be animal yang mana itu, they always points down to the tail of the north celestial pole. Right, take that. Dia tak boleh kawan zona yang orang ni. Dia tak itu cuma itu. Aku ni agak get all the star lines. Star lines are the navigators they use. Yeah, the memo or the pole of navigations. The route north to south navigation route star lines. They try to go. The big square. But they do A to day. You go through the night. the job is easy when everything is clear. It becomes difficult when there is obstructions. What the orange belt over there, even though among angle data, there is a slight change in degree. Like what I said, as the star comes up, there is a declination of certain stuff, and you got to learn as a navigator the angle or the degree or the it's man. You don't go away up to much, I go to do what you did because I don't need a idea. They get it. They for the triangle there. They all object, they go there. Go wake up, it then. Now, the highway one put it into a star line data. This is a north to south starlight. Made the A2 May or no. The A2 May the northern star. And my get up. That only putting the southern cross. Now, that only putting the southern cross.
Is the letters? Is the letters?
Travis is in Hawaii. I didn't be there, I think, in Tahato. I didn't Papua the young of Makato, he didn't need it. I didn't Papua Maori Tahato that it was Puna with it. I don't think it again. What they may have more with the north. Penny, I didn't have to him, Penny. It's Pura.
Pura one.
It's Pura. Even when it's Pura, I know entire student in the school. The star lines Tamato, on the ocean side. Now, without to took him the presentation of Marama, signs are the navigator a corporal. Between 2 hours This is one of the most important times because the navigator has to be aware. You have to, you need to, or the map, whatever you're going to expect through the day. Then you can get the full reading. Get the full reading. You know exactly what's the sun's house is rising. Then if you're going north, if the sun, like what I said on an equinox day, if the sun rises right on your beam, you know you're going straight north. If it rises somewhere else, then you need to move at that time. You need to move. So it's very, very important. And also you get to keep in the back. The sun is rising on your beam. Yeah, it's a compass. Then, it's sunset. Yeah, during the day. Before you depart, you need to get all this information before you. And there are avenues that you can do that through apps, through almanacs, and those are the things to take. But in memoir, you have to find it out yourself. I got highly respectful for our Puna because they don't use the chance to work their directions. Today we got a chance that we got to work our direction before we actually apply the traditional courses that you got to navigate by. Yeah. So we got avenues that help us today as navigators. In the olden days, nothing. Nothing. The ocean swells is very important also. I indicated that before. The difficulty here is you see the wave, determining the swells out of the waves. It's always a difficulty. Pagi tetapi the swell idera mana, but it's not a good day to sail. Yeah, it's not a good day for cruising. Mata ugi patia na tato idera. For canoe sailing, it's not nice to get a calm day like this because you'll be sitting at sea and not moving. So some people say, "Oh, kaya ngaruan." Yes, ngaru. We get to our tingon, we get there to our destination, to our place where we wanna go, faster than having a calm. Ako dumanga, ako duway, we'll be having a calm. May kanu ngaru na. Ito matangi kami from the right place. This is a nice set. Mga luwa kaya ikaw ang luwa. Teya ito noong ay kangaso na, navigate the seats. Ino mo ide, naiwan mo o tato o luwa. Metapin kangaso na may the swells. Pwede ibigay ang mga mo. They open the especially on sunsets that you have to feel it for yourself as a navigator. The swell movements to your course that you are steering. Very, very important.
When you say you sit to bearing, say to true north, and then you find that you're offset by say 5 or 10. They pull you away from your true north? No.
It does. If
right back there.
you have to counter attack. Yeah. But I know if we're going straight north, if the elements is against you, you know where you're gonna be pushed down. You know. And what you do, you steer up. You steer another 1 degree or another house or half a house. Okay, let's steer or ako kita o may department o narani tuli out tuli out. We don't give it into bearing because you have no idea what bearing is. We give it in house steerings. Jiao is very important. It's Jiao see what's the weather later. So you need to know all of these stuffs. Clouds are both trained and proved to the navigators. Clouds can also help signal the presence of land and give useful clues about the weather. There's a low pressure approach. It just gives you okay, you need to keep an eye on that. Every day is a living day for you. This class known as a macro sky, indicating rain within 24 to 48 hours. It also indicates low pressure coming soon. Pini pada dia ada tahu bu, ada dua kerana lagi ada pini ada. Ya, dia tahu especially tahu ilmu. No the main sky oh, ada tahu bu atau tak tahu. Always look up. Ketika kita jauh yang mata kita tahu ilmu, motivasi ilaru itu yang ini it's called this squall rates. And within this, it consists of sometimes you get fully not win in an instant. But then we are you know what Ogito kita tahu actually you need matang ilaw.
tengok mata tak fikir mo ai ke. Pure tatu e papai. Kan mai tra te matang ni te ua within 10 minutes police ni. Squalls squalls are dangerous sometimes, hiding very strong winds inside them. You don't really get in there, so where else the wind's gonna go? It's gonna go underneath. And that black area indicates rain. When it's kind of white underneath, then it becomes really dangerous. I've been through a lot on this at sea. It's one of the navigator's responsibility to make sure that you can determine day and night. They that's what it is. When it hits that, it's just a squall. It's just a squall.
Sorry to interfere, I just have to leave. So I just want to ask this question before I go.
Right.
There was a boat on the island of Inoman, Achu, because what I learned, this is Afghani in the destination of Achu, and George McNabb, and the women normally and I think they wanted to go out at sea. It might put it to the daughter or over it. Akarato Midira, Tin or Topic on the boat, no rock that when they might have it. But they took the little boy out at sea with the father, the destination, and they were far out at sea, and then they came back, they could see Urutumo Navana Tatona de Angabutorine, Aropa. So that means if they when they see this sign, they have to turn back. A boy, you get in more, I read the Naya with the Ukiman for their safety. So when they turn the boat, what's like? No, that's what you be there. They are putting no rato. Well, Matamate, it's told right about the Yoram. So, look at the Puna, Matema, and Tokamo from Ireland, by Natura of Tanga, and Kotama, and Momapu with Tayona Moya to Api. The two we are because if Api or the Matano, I don't know it's kind of, I mean, that's it. You know, the kids in those days in our area was, we don't have excuse me, teacher, I don't know. Mga kids, kahit tatara ay chocolate mo lang. Kasi akala may bila ay so may so hindi ka uya to papa. My grandfather no uti out of brother. Ko auntie ginapapang ni ko to na papa. Ito ko matinasing ay ko abi so when you go to Archer, there's in the Marama, the church, no the cloud, so I just want to share that. I don't do the name of the idea of how we do it.
Tumana ko te kini ba ko te susi chao me te.
Yeah, poi di tong kare apa ko
ito. Lo te me ano mai de te me no. Ano mai de te me ke kana ko. O te o gile de bu bengo de ka po na to ite. No, ai te mo o te ni ra pa ko mau. Ya ta o ka mere ko.
Lutumo.
Lutumo na.
Ano te ta pa. Otto.
No. Ano ba?
Makuro ikini mairira ako kita pa ang the next one. Sorry, kakarkyo, it's so important dia.
Thank you.
Dia workshop na puro. God bless you too. Ako maririta ko ra bindi. Ari mo kita tato mapu no umay no rato de trata.
Wala kino dia kita tato ka tapimiti ni na rato
We have to continue doing it for the sake of our young generation. Okay, thank you, Mata.
Thank you, Auntie. Ini mau om nữa.
What a sprout. What a sprout. What a sprout.
Tara, explore water. Dari ini mana ini mau beli? Kalau yang kami kita buat, anu water. Kita jual orang kita jual. Akatan kita lah. So kung kita ikaw ay nagdadeo pinga di tatato ka kit me iya ko navigator to me ako tao nga ini yung eyes mo yeah natin pa navigating di ka nga navigating by sighting fish, birds and cumulus clouds. Cumulus clouds is one of the best clouds that you can have if it comes on. It means steady wind through the day. Iya tra iya chao ni kita tato iya chao ni kita tato. So once you get that during the day, in the morning, when sunrise comes in, you know you get it good day wind, good day breeze. Berapa tu terang? Dia tak ada indications of land. Ya, dia hari boleh kita mau ka, it will shine in kita ada cuci jauh semua ini. Biar itu tak kira ya, itu tak biar boleh itu. First thing you see itu tadi. It's the reflection of the lagoon on top of the clouds. I did that tadi porok ini daun tak memo tak kaki. So you're not looking on the horizon to see when is the land's going to come up. You'll be looking up on the clouds if the timing is right. You can see that 40 miles out, 50 miles out. It's tadi you can see it only probably maybe 15 miles out. Or a little bit further, maybe 20 miles if you got two guys. Yeah, they'll sign at the end. It's all the signs that you need as a navigator to climb while racing an island. They make up to my cumulus cloud generated by warm track. If you're looking 40 miles out, 45 miles out, kakit ko irarto. Tao memo kakit, the chow ya kuku ore mo ero. Ano ba kita nito? Because it's only a small tick that you can see. With the chow, no, arinekian. So what it is? It's forming itself on top of the mountains. To indicate berapa kita mau juga. Terang. Human, they've been walking around stuff. You thought they took human, but as you get first, but the moyo comes out, fish, and goes back in. Then you know you're within the 60 mile zone. Very close, or closer. Yeah, kakaya, mau kakaya hadir. Turo, ada yang kuih. Turo dia ada. Jadi moyo sudah moyo. Nah, dia bawa kata-kata apa? Tahu ke ngomong? Jadi orang tu cip may tak si may kira tu mahu, takut ia tu, itu dah itu ah. Takut may kira tu, takut kinu itu, mau may tahu kira tu, dua orang muri may, itu may kira, ikan may ko, ulu itu nampak ah, kita memang tu kira tu may, kalau tak isi may dia mau tahu may. Dia tak email, kita tahu rumah tu tak boleh kirim. Ya, kita ini tak tahu rim terkara, ada tak tahu rim terkara ni macam apa. Ada yang main dia ber, mau main itu. Kadang awin main kita, dia buat mak ibu boleh tahu. If you have doubt in your estimation, but if you see the rim, then you know you're pretty close to where you are. Kita nak ubi orang utama tu, kita ubi orang lain tahu kita dari dia, betul? Ya.
Betul. Dia ubi apa tu? Apa dia ubi kah? Ada dia ubi kah? Ada itu cuma itu tu ter. me ka te uka me ko te pai no mama te a I ka te ku ko bata ko te tuan me I ka me a I ka ke te mo te uka te ara te ka me ka bata mo pai mo ta to me le maro a bata ko ne me ta fina te pai no pa o bata me ni ko ne me tora
maro ro puro
maro puro
ito ro ako gi tanto ang yang te me ora is seasoning. It depends what water is. Sometimes comes in seasons. If you sell within the season, you know you come across.
Okay.
The marrow, there's always marrow around. Even in New Zealand, there is marrow with the. Are there indication of how close you are from them or where you are from the fish? The most important thing is if it bites on the land, on the line. It's food. It's important, it's important because it's part of your planning. Then what provisions that you have allowed for that day, it moves on. You leave it, you don't touch it, then we eat the fish.
Yeah.
Another fish tomorrow, we eat fish again. Yeah, and then it becomes evil labor.
Sorry. Kena te me tuato uri o ki te ia. Wa no e to te me kukaren, tana ko e te semo mai mat, ngā te me uri e te kala tato. Ka te me kala tato tamo e kukaren, te tano ra e to ke tere ngā tātua. So, na ukit tato itu puna e koto te ra, ukit ra koto te u te no nga e te tuato e atang te tere, au e tere o te te mpo roa.
Yeah. Ko e te mo tato wa ka te mo e ta e tapo pane, I to ka mo April, and then she goes back in the water, and the sailing system starts again. So the new navigators we try just following that course, straight north, and then the next one will be pinprick right on the top. That's when you get into the advanced level. Then you go another 700 miles. Now this is just an overnight. So our young navigators, the one that's it's just an overnight. Boat next morning, that. And then you come back vice versa, same way going down south.
Yeah.
So we are blessed with the location of our islands that's been.
Mau ki taki ati ia rātou a.
Beta kena nui. Nekana tu ewi ang atoe. If there's any more questions, we will move on. Perhaps the most important day, item on our day, it's our kai over there. So Nekana tu ewi okay. There's no other questions. Then we'll move on. Ewi ang atoe kone question from me. Terabi.
Kira. Aku yang mau pergi Peia, dua kocik dah tahu tu orang, nanti lah.
Hai, aku ni ada ke tu ang ukuran, tapi dia supaya mar, kau yo kita, dapat tu ang itata tu itu, tera dia hena au cikuni, itu tu iteri tu, tahu mai tahu tua, tahu mai tahu mar, itu tu itu ang ukir, tara tu aku dia.
Thank you. We too. Kita kan ni juga orang.
Note. Perpus no giam. Ako may takiya Peia. Kina nui. Nota au I tua mai. Papuro ya ko. Eu pico ote ya ko ai. Learned a lot of things, new things that I haven't learned before. So I'll put that into tapu kete. Taka matu tu amaru is tapu kete. Nore la kina nui. Kina nui kia ko ai. So kalau tato